Hey, Matt, I just acquired a new baseball team.
Oh, yeah? Who's the first baseman?
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
The man playing first base.
Who's on first?
The guy playing first base.
Who's on first?
This is gonna go nowhere.
Live from Studio 3, and then heavily edited for content, it's Bucco Banter. Introducing your hosts, originally from somewhere near Newcastle and now being a good husband and father when he's not running off by himself to PNC Park, it's Fred Rossano. A Pittsburgh Pirates fan since before he was born and still residing in his parents' basement when he's not sleeping in the Pirates clubhouse, it's Matthew Peaslee. Finally, he may look like a piece of plastic on a stick, but he has a life of his own, and he's the real expert on Bucco Banter. It's Pirate Panda!
Welcome back to Bucco Banter. My name is Fred Rossano, and this is...
Matthew Peaslee.
And Matt, quite an ending to the first half of the season with those two dramatic
walk-off
extra
wins.
inning games against the Cardinals.
Unbelievable. Two national TV audiences, Saturday, Sunday. That Saturday game, back and forth, extra inning, 14th inning, I believe it was.
Yeah, what's even more dramatic is the Cardinals had scored in the top of a couple of those innings, and the Pirates came back to score in the bottom of the inning in the Saturday night game, and then they scored again.
They scored two. But just the amazing fight in the team was unreal. I mean, watching the game, you counted them out time and time again, every inning. Oh, Cardinals score. They're just pack it in. But the Pirates didn't pack it in. They swung away, got key hits. Andrew McCutcheon's home run, straightaway center field, was that on the radio call. Greg Brown called it one of the most exciting games in Pittsburgh history. Might have been a little bit too far, but probably the best game in PNC Park history.
Regular season
game in PNC Park history. Then, so Kutch comes through for us on Saturday. Sunday, Gregory Polanco comes through with a nice hit to the outfield. And I mean, the struggles he's had all year, he's really been getting hits and going three. He was 3 for 4 on Sunday, still getting hits, and he's been fun to watch. I mean, turning into the player we thought he could be, and I think that helped his confidence a lot too when he hits a walk-off hit.
I really had thought that he was probably that close to possibly being sent down.
Yeah.
And I think maybe some of the injuries helped him stay up. And I do think they were, especially when they acquired Travis Ishikawa, I think that was a sort of a way of saying they might be sending him back down. But sometimes that's all it takes for, maybe he saw the writing on the wall and said, I better get into gear here. But
we know the player he is. He hit all through the minors. I mean, I think he had an error the other game, and there was that game, remember that game in Wrigley Field at the beginning of the year where he's stumbling in the outfield, falls down, and the Cubs score a winning run there. But I mean, he's still a young player, 23 years old, first full season in the majors. He's got the star potential. I don't think the Pirates want to give up on him at all. But yeah, that Sunday game against the Cardinals right before the All-Star break, the Pirates were 2.5 games back of the Cardinals, and with the eyes of the baseball nation on Pittsburgh for the weekend, they came through and delivered, taking 3 out of 4 from the Cardinals.
Yeah, but as quick as that happened, Mr. Let's Make Hay against these lower teams. What happened after the All-Star break?
The Brewers swept the Pirates.
That's why and I think Clint Hurdle actually got criticized for this because his pitchers was supposed to be Morton, Liriano, and Locke, but then Liriano couldn't pitch anyway because of a stiff neck, so they put in
Vance Worley.
But coming out of the break, he may have been thinking, okay, let's go ahead and give it a break. Cole had pitched in the All-Star game, so coming back from that, he probably thought, it's the Brewers. Let's go. You never take another team lightly. Yeah. Now, he'll deny that, but he was probably trying to give Burnett some extra days off, which I can understand. And the same with Cole. But
it's the Brewers Pirates. We can't win up in Miller Park, and year after year, it's always a struggle against that team.
There are some bizarre things that have happened.
But it's been I don't think the Pirates have a winning record this year against NL Central teams. even the Cardinals. We got swept.
That's got to change.
We got swept.
Definitely got to change.
Swept by the Cardinals in St. Louis earlier in the year.
And those all three. Remember those?
Those were all extra inning games too. And the Brewers have had the Pirates number, and that's got to. I mean, we're surprised that we're in the position the Pirates are in, second place with the third best record in all of baseball, when they don't beat the teams in their division. And that didn't happen against the Brewers, obviously. Now they're in a tough stretch with the Royals and the Nationals. But again, it's like you said, it could be any team, any given day.
I mean, you just got to go by what's going on. In that particular night, how your starting pitcher is and how it unfolds for that night. Who the other opposing starting pitcher is. But I've never been one to believe in the over the course of the season. Yes, it starts to form. Which team is good and which team is bad. But never underestimate a team. I mean, and I don't think the Pirates did, but I think there may have been a little bit of that, of giving Burnett and Cole some extra rest there and starting out the second half. And even last night, you could see that Burnett was a little bit stale starting out.
Right. But with the way the Pirates have been playing for the entire first half of the season and the way they end the first half, coming to the second half, they are, without a doubt, one of the best teams in baseball. We'll talk about the moves that they could make at the trade deadline coming up, but I like the position the Pirates are in. We'll see you in our next segment on Bucco Banter.
Matt and Fred, it's time for a new segment on Bucco Banter called 3 for 3. And take it away, Matt.
Well, thank you, Panda. It is time for 3 for 3. Fred, why don't you lead it off for us?
My first is panic, ? No way. Again, we just had discussed people get so bent out of shape over a 3-game losing streak. Granted, it was against the Brewers, but you never can tell what you're going to be facing. But it is a long, long season. What are there, 60-some games left? You can't go back and start dwelling on what we did last night. You got to look forward to the next day, and that's what's great about baseball. You got 162 games. There's always the next day. There's always the next day until you run out of those next days. But people panic too quickly. They're running. You can't go with him. Trade him. He's no good anymore. Got to stick with what you have. They're like you just said. They're one of the best teams in baseball. Stick with the plan.
They had a 8-game winning streak in June. You're not going to win every game, and the Pirates have shown that they've obviously can win more than they lose. People panic because of the injuries too, and the Pirates have been lucky in the first half. Really, they only lost Charlie Morton to start the year.
Yep.
But with Josh Harrison on the disabled list and Jordy Mercer on the disabled list, it's cause for concern, but definitely not a panic. My first is Polanco sticks around, and we touched on this in the first segment. And he's still an everyday player. He's an everyday right fielder, and I think that's what the Pirates want to do. They want to play him as much as they can so he can work through his struggles of catching up to Major League pitching. I think it was the beginning of last year, before he even got called up. They offered him that 7-year deal.
I forgot about that.
And he turned it down, which might have been smart by them because him and his agent or whoever probably thought that, once I get up there, you're going to see that I'm going to be Rookie of the Year, I'm going to be a star, and that hasn't happened.
It doesn't always work.
And if he did accept that, I'm sure the Pirates would be taking a lot of heat for offering all that to a struggling player. But the way he's hit, I think the Pirates do want to lock him up longer term down the road. He's still batting around 240. We'd like to see some more power potential. But really, the Pirates have been – I think the Pirates are 26 in the major leagues in home runs. The entire offense has struggled this year.
I don't know where the home run power has gone, but it isn't there right now. They just don't seem to have the power, nearly the power they had last couple years.
Right. But you expect that corner outfield position to deliver some of that power, and when Polanco hasn't come through, you hope that it will come eventually.
My second one is Ramirez returning. That would be Clint Barmas is a backup infielder, obviously, with the injury to Mercer, and Ramirez possibly the same thing. And I would love to see both of them. I don't think they would be too expensive either because of Barmas he's still a utility infielder, and Ramirez is in the last year of his career. He's retiring after this year, so that the Brewers would be willing to give him up for pretty much anything. But I wouldn't mind seeing both of them back. I mean, they could.
And Arama's had some good hits in the Pirate series and coming full circle. Starts his career with
And
Pittsburgh.
Barmas is a good, solid infielder, as he always has been.
And good chemistry. I'm sure the team,
both of them are.
My second one is longer than 3 words. I can't shorten it. But it's WAR. What is it good for? And I know how much you love stats. But just from looking at the Pirates' wins above replacements, Pedro Alvarez at first base has a 0.4 or a negative 0.4 wins above replacement, which is he's the only position player, might be the only infielder I think that has a negative wins above replacement, and it's because he's not hitting the ball, because he's not hitting the home runs, and he has 15 errors, which
I saw that stat too. He has 15 errors. The next closest is
6.
Joey Votto, I think, has 6.
Yeah, and it's the 15 errors is the most errors by a first baseman since Prince Fielder in 2007, maybe committed 15 for the entire season. And the Pirates are only halfway done now. So he's not throwing the ball. He might have had a couple throwing errors trying to double somebody off, but it's mostly just his.
He made a bad one the other day.
Yeah, he had ball.
Sunday's game.
Ball went through his legs one of those days, and
that was bad.
It's I still say put him out there because he's got but it's a struggle to watch him sometimes, especially at first base.
My next is too many errors. I guess it would be a combination: too many errors and base running blunders.
Yeah.
Well, they've just gotten very sloppy with doing things that don't make any I can't even recall that Polanco's made several of them himself.
Right.
That one where it was first and second, and he stayed at third. He hesitated before he went home
and got out at home.
No, well, they got the guy out at second, and they threw him out at home, which shouldn't.
That was in the Cardinals series.
Yeah, which with his speed should never have happened. He should have been going up. You're willing to give up the run to get the double play. I think there were no outs.
Nobody out. Yeah.
Those types of things just have to stop. And I know it seems to happen in groups when that happens, and it happens to every team. But it just seems like overall they've not been real solid defensively, and their base running has been very bad. I think in a lot of instances this year.
There was the Gorkys Hernandez thing in Detroit.
That could single-handedly be the worst play I have seen a Major League Baseball player make on the bases. What was he thinking? This was the little leaguers. We're taught, to go back around the base,
and he did go back,
and then he crossed over.
Yeah,
I hadn't seen the play, but then I heard everybody talking about it. It was on everything about 100 times or whatever that night, and the next day they were just mocking him. But it was just an incredibly what went through his mind.
And just boneheaded play. And this really isn't a blunder or anything, but Josh Harrison's injury was hurt on the base paths. He slid in head first, jammed his thumb, and as a distinguished coach like yourself, I never slid head first. I always slid feet in, up and
that
through
way.
You
have the hop up slide too.
But you see too many people. And D. Gordon of the Marlins, an all-star, slid in to first base going head first and got hurt. Yeah,
I still think that there was so much rain on that field because remember, Marte flipped over.
Yeah, that could be it. Yeah,
and it looked like when they were using their hands, whatever that quick dry is or whatever, it looked like it grabbed, and instead of you sliding with it, it broke. It stopped their hands from continuing on there, and I think that's what happened to him too. With Harrison.
The errors in the field and on the base pass has been a trend all season long. My last 3 for 3, and to conclude the segment, is all-star stuff. So we had the all-star break. Andrew McCutchen gets to start and lead off and hits a home run. Garrett Cole comes in the third inning, I believe, second or third inning as a relief pitcher. Did a solid job, and we even get to see Mark Melancon make it in the all-star game. Gives up a home run to Brian Dozier, but he strikes out Russell Martin, which is kind of a pretty cool moment. Two old Pirates going against each other. But and there's the whole storyline of A.J. Burnett making it for his final season and not getting to pitch.
He didn't seem to mind it.
No, and a lot of the fans are clamoring about that. But still, we got to see 3 Pirates play in the All-Star game, and That's a far cry from the years where the Pirates just had to have a representative, like Evan Meek or somebody like that. They just had to have a token guy. Yeah. And but we got to see 3 Pirates perform pretty well in the All-Star game. Would have been nice to see AJ go in, but Bochy said that he wanted to put in the players that had the best first half, and that's Garrett Cole's obviously a Cy Young candidate. Mark Melancon leads the league in saves. AJ's had a great year, but it doesn't stack up there with Clayton Kershaw and Zach Greinke and
not Zach Greinke.
No, and Bumgarner, the players that did get the pitch for the National League.
I think it was fitting of what the Pirates have done in the first half, and they well represented, and they represented themselves well. How's that?
Good.
They were well represented and represented themselves well.
Just like we do on Bucco Banter.
We'll be back with the next segment.
Ask the experts. Ask the experts. Ask the experts. Ask the experts.
Well, for Ask the Experts, I think I got a message in my tea leaves. Ooh. Questions sent in from our loyal viewers.
All right, you want the first one?
Sure.
What's happened to the Pirates bench?
Well,
wait a minute.
Oh, yeah, who sent this in?
This is Kevin of Pittsburgh.
Okay. Well, it's depleted a little bit because you have some players switched in and taking a greater role. I mean, with 2 of our starting infielders hurt, Sean Rodriguez has kind of stepped in as a bench player to fill roles at first base.
And he's getting too much playing time.
Yeah, because the way he started out the season, he thought, okay, this guy is a quality bench player. He was hitting over 300, but now it's seeing him at the plate is a struggle. It just doesn't seem like he can catch up to the pitching that they're throwing at him.
Despite that, this bench is still not as bad as last year's. It will never, ever be a bench as bad as last year's.
Jason Nix.
Although Brent Morrell is back up.
Michael Martinez of last year. Steve Lombardozzi was hard to watch this year when he was up. They put him down. He was over. He didn't get a hit in the 3 weeks he was up here. And then
still wondering why they sent Tabata back then. I don't.
So they just don't have faith in him or something and that's why they bring up Gorkys Hernandez, who was having a great year at AAA, and that's just not computing to the major league level. Brent Morrell might get a play here or there. Then how about they bring up Jeff Decker, who we've talked about him for the past 2 years, and he had a triple against the Brewers and a couple hits, but you just don't see these guys as major league players. Yeah. That's why, as you said, maybe Barmes or Ramos Ramirez, just to get another player to shore up the bench a little bit that you can plug in when you need to. But really, the Pirates bench this year they've been able to...
It's been better. It's just because of the injuries, it's being depleted.
All season, they've been able to switch players in and out, where they put Rodriguez at first in the 7th inning, or use Harrison in the outfield to get Jung Ho Gong some playing time at third base. And now he's stepped in as a full-time everyday shortstop. So
Corey Hart too apparently is out for the season. Yeah, it appears so.
That project didn't work out at the beginning, and
it did at the beginning. He had a couple big home runs, and then
it's almost like Sean Rodriguez, where he thought that they'd come in and they could be okay, but
that's why some guys are bench players, and the Harrison, the way he came around last year. That's not what normally happens. These guys are bench players for that very reason. They seem to be spark plugs in there for a couple games and they fade away.
And they had to acquire Travis Ishikawa, who's done okay in his return. He was a bench player with the Giants after the Pirates released him last year, but I don't know. I mean, maybe he's going to have to take in a greater role at first base and right field. But again, I'm not panicking about the bench. It's not as good as it could be,
but it's not as bad.
Right. Question for you. Question number 2. Top trade target for the Pirates. Is it a middle reliever, outfield help, infield help? And that's by Terry of Cannonsburg, Pennsylvania.
I'd say right now the outfield help has probably been put on the back burner. I think they first, I would say middle reliever, because I think there have been cracks in Archimedes Caminero.
Even Jared Hughes.
Has been struggling. I can't even think of the other one. It's
Antonio Bastardo.
Oh, yeah. he has not. I think he gave. Yeah, he came in the other day too again and just
Against the Royals and caught them up.
I think middle relievers and Hurdle and Huntington have both said that they can come pretty plentiful. They can help you out, and then they can also hurt you pretty quickly too. You can just never predict what they're going to do. But I think
they acquired relief pitching at the deadline the past year. Kyle Farnsworth, John Axford. Remember those guys came in.
Was pretty good.
Yeah.
Axford was so, but I think middle reliever. Yeah, you that's hurt them pretty big coming into games this year, all year long, where they haven't come through. Other than that, I'd say again we touched on Ramirez and Barmas of a good solid backup, somebody to come in to even while Harrison and Mercer both out for the next 6 weeks, but
and maybe a first baseman.
Maybe a first baseman. Oh, wait a minute. Is it my question? No,
your question to me. Yeah.
Are Pedro Alvarez's days numbered? Murray of Steubenville. I mean, is it in life or in the Pirates?
I hope he's in good health. He's still a young guy.
He's an enigma.
Yeah, I still want to. There's just something in me the past 2 years that wants to keep him around and see him unleash. But
I don't know. I've given up. I'm a big fan of his, but I think I've about given up on him too. Even the high points are less and less.
He in the Cardinal series, I think he had a home run. He's been our best player in the playoffs the past 2 years. When we had the NLDS in 2013,
that's 2 years ago.
Hopefully, we get back there this year. But what I've read too is that Pedro's seeing more sinkers from pitchers this year. And when he does get out, they're ground ball outs. When Pedro Alvarez can get one in the air, it has a chance to go or make a sacrifice fly, get a run in. But they're throwing in too many sinkers, and that's trouble with the curve. But it's the sinking pitch and that's the reason why the Pirates are down in home runs this year too. I think because they're seeing more sinkers and they're making more ground ball outs than they are hitting it in the air. But I want to see Pedro come through. The glove work is still hard. That's why they say, trade him to an American League team. But
no, they need him to do well before they can trade him.
Right, he'll bring nothing back. He'll bring nothing back right now with a 230 hitter who doesn't have 10 home runs. And
they say he's one of the hardest workers on the team and all that. And then I don't know if he just takes it too personally, everything that when he strikes out, and even had that the winning hit in that one game.
Yeah, he had a walk-off hit.
Yeah, he had a walk-off hit, and then it just seems like it fades. He used to be very streaky, where he could carry the team for 2 or 3 weeks. Now he carries the team for one game, and that's it. I don't know what to do with him. He's obviously, even Clint Hurdle and the rest of the coaches are down on him because they didn't even start him the other day against a righty.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? There's some writing on the wall there that they're just not happy with whatever stats you said too, that the WAR stats.
Yeah, you love the WAR stats.
Yeah, I love the WAR stats.
Last question: will the Pirates make a blockbuster move at the trade deadline? Zip of Coleraine. Coleraine?
Coleraine.
Coleraine?
C-O-L-E.
I know it's
R-A-I-N.
Coleraine. Garrett Coleraine?
What was the question again? Will the Pirates make a big move?
Blockbuster.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I don't think they do. I think they need to shore up in a couple areas, like we said, middle relief, maybe an infielder, maybe some other thing that the outfielder that they might do to help out the situation, but they're not going to make a big trade, and that would go against their philosophy too. You don't want to give up. Although what's happened this year is, as far as pitching, is they've had so many guys with Tommy John and a bunch of other injuries that they can't bring up those guys, and they're still kind of weak on the position players. I was reading somewhere the other day where Tony Sanchez is he's batting like 202.
Yeah.
But I doubt very much. They're not going to go after a Cole Hamels or Samardzija or whatever, somebody like that. But they, although last year they went after John Lester pretty heavily.
Yeah.
But,
and this is David Price is on the trade block from the Tigers again this year.
But I kind of doubt that, though, unless they're overwhelmed. The Tigers, I think, with Verlander looking like he may be done, that they're going to keep David Price. But Pirates, I don't think they need to do that, nor do I think they would do that under any circumstances. But I think they just need to make some minor improvements here again on the bench, and just wait till a couple of these guys come back from their injuries.
Third best team in baseball, second best team in the National League. Let's be thankful with where the Pirates are and be prepared to cheer them on through the stretch run of the season.
Yeah. Last time we left you, we said, we'll see how they match up against the Cardinals or whatever before the first half, and they matched up pretty well.
Job well done, Pirates.
Yep. Next time we see you, hopefully they will narrow the gap even further on the Cardinals. They let them back in a little bit, but that's narrowed back down to like 0 or a half.
Let's take the lead in the Central Division. See you next time
on the Bucco Banter.
Well, Fred, I've had a lot of fun with this show with you for the past 2 years, but I'm changing career paths. I'm going to be a stand-up comedian.
Okay.
I'm going to show you with my very first stand-up act. It's because I need your honest thoughts, because we've been so honest with each other over the past few years.
Yes, we have.
I need you to just be honest with me in this skit.
I certainly will.
So, Fred, you have some years on me, and I'm sure you've came across a lot of people, good and bad, over the years. Mm-hmm. But have you ever came across people that are just bad seeds, especially men?
Yeah, people that deserve to be dead, probably.
Yeah, but there's 3 different types of bad male figures. First, you have the bad guy. Slick. He's really slick and slimy. He's wearing a trench coat, top hat. Just an evil kind of guy. He's not physically harmful, but he looks like he's going to blackmail you and commit tax fraud or something like that. It's a bad guy. Then you have Snidely Whiplash. Exactly. That's a bad guy. Mm-hmm. Then you have the bad man. Bad man is somebody who's down on his luck, growing a meth lab. Just a bad man. You don't want to cross the bad man. But he's not as smart as the bad guy. But he's a bad man who's doing illegal things. Bad man.
Yes.
Then you have the bad boy.
Yes.
Bad boy is somebody who's younger, pushes the envelope a little bit. Starting to get into trouble. It's just a bad boy. But he's not as bad as a bad man or a bad guy, but a bad boy is somebody who defies authority and just tries to toe the line without getting arrested or anything like that. But he's a bad boy.
Bad boy. Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
Is that a pretty good sit? That's
yeah.
It. That's it.
So what are you going to become?
A stand-up comedian. That's a good act, isn't it?
God. Help us.
Thanks, Fred.
Okay, we'll be right back. It's just describing different people.
But I'm right, though, aren't I?
Yeah.
That's all I need.
Okay, there are different types of cars. There are Chevys, Fords, Plymouths, Dodges.
Okay.
And now for my next act. That's pretty funny, too. And they come in different colors.
Yeah. But you observed that. I psychoanalyzed it.